let me give, if I may, a very quick example. My senior investigator, Dale Musser, a very fine investigator, had a lady come in, and this lady is beyond question an abductee. She has been seen by 8 other people on board craft at the same time in a mass abduction of 8 people.
8 separate people?
There's no question this lady's an abductee.
8 separate people?
On the same craft, same time, same, it's called the Mass Abduction Event of 1992. It's one of my, it's a case that I'll mention a little later on in this, that you'll just absolutely find astounding. But the point is that the lady is no question an abductee, but she also hallucinates, and we know that. She comes in, sits down, says, Dale, I'd like for you to work with me because I've been abducted. He says, okay, have a seat, and he questions her a bit and everything. He's a little dubious.
Uh-oh. That, folks, is the sound of a broken telephone line. These things occasionally occur. Interestingly, these things more frequently occur when we have a guest talking of the kinds of things you're hearing right now. Quite remarkable, I would say. So we'll pick up Derrel on the other side of the news at the top of the hour. Once again, Derrel Sims. Derrel, welcome back.
Yes.
We were unceremoniously cut off.
Yes, we were.
Anyway, we now have you back, and I sure would like to hear that story about the mass abduction of 8 people, unrelated apparently.
Oh, that is a big one.
Okay.
Art, you have struck the chord that got me the title Alien Hunter. The lady was investigating a case we refer to as the mass abduction event of December 8th, 1992. And let me back up just a little bit. I came to one of my abductees. I had about 75 at the time. And she is what we would refer to generally really as a contactee.
Okay.
She believes that her events, even though some of them may have been somewhat negative, that the guys are basically here helping us, doing something good, but she doesn't know what it is. And so I said what I would like to do is to do an experiment. I said I was in the Central Intelligence Agency for 2 years and worked in the military police and so on. And so with that background, I said what I would like to do is install a post-hypnotic suggestion, installing in your memory a piece of information that I found that I think that if it is valid would upset them if they knew you knew it. And I said probably nothing will happen, but if it does, I would like to see if anything would occur.
Now, let me get this straight. This is somebody who's an ongoing abductee or contactee.
Absolutely.
And you're implanting a post-hypnotic suggestion.
My own screensaver memory.
To send to them.
Absolutely.
Oh, I've always wondered when somebody would do that.
Well, Art, this is, to me, made sense. We did 3 years of research, Dale Musser and myself, my senior investigator. And after we gathered the evidence together, we did not hopscotch off of everyone else's work. We took our own 75 people and came up with our own incredible stats of up to 33% of these abductees having rare drug allergies, which only 0.08% of the population has.
Again, the 8.
There we go into the 8. The 8 people, what happened, the lady received the post-hypnotic suggestion. She looked at me and she said, I'm going to tell you something, Derrel. She said, I trust you implicitly. I like these beings. I don't like what they're doing. I think it's wrong. I think this thing's going to come to a conflict eventually between you and whoever they are. She said, so I'll do whatever you want. I said, well, I have to do this on video. And she says, why is that? And I said, because I'm fixing to induce amnesia. You're not going to remember anything.
Amnesia.
So when I installed the post-hypnotic suggestion of information that I felt, and then let me back up here a bit.
Sure.
Since I was in the intelligence community, there are 2 things that you did in the intelligence community. One is the intelligence community's job is to have secrets. And the second reason for them having secrets is not to ever have them exposed because you become vulnerable.
Of course.
I mean, that's the whole point. I don't think the alien presence is any different. So the best way to do this is to test it. So I found information from one abductee that I felt was if I were them, I would not want that out. I got way past the screensaver memory, in other words, and found one of these type scenarios that sounded to me like it might be true.
Okay, so you had second level information from an abductee.
So the question is, let's who knows whether it's true or not? Let's apply it in the situation and see what happens.
So you hypnotize this lady, and you implanted
the information, and then installed amnesia in two ways. I installed amnesia on both sides of her memory. Because if the being catches her, the very first thing they're going to do, they've already abducted her since she was 3 years old. They know everything that woman ever thinks.
Right.
They know everything. So if she has information about them that would be harmful, in my opinion, the particular information, if they found that, then it should cause some kind of reaction.
Well, when you say on both sides of her memory, what do you mean?
By that I mean whenever she can't remember. I can't allow her to remember what's going to happen, because if she does that, they're going to catch that instantaneously.
So that means
they know there's a trap.
That means no memory prior to the event and no memory after the event.
Correct.
Okay.
So whenever they get her, if in fact the information is valid, which this is all hypothesis on my point, I have no idea whether it is or not. The important thing I want to do is install a block on the other side, just like they do us.
I understand.
So that they can't find out who gave it to her.
So you're sending a message to them.
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, she later moves to Florida, and a remarkable situation. That'll all come out in the book. She's one of my 7 cases I'm going to review.
Right.
And you can see here why. So she gets picked up about 2 weeks later. Remarkable situation. The post-hypnotic suggestion does not work until she gets within 20 inches of the being. I set it to go off when she's right next to him. And when she got within 20 inches of him, she woke up completely out of her trance and looks at him completely wide-eyed, and then she spouts out the information. And he was upset. Well, now, of course, we did not know this at all because this was in November. And then on December 8th, 1992, apparently things got worse, and I guess it goes up the food chain.
Can you relate what the information was?
I can't at this time because I intend to do it again.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
I intend to do it again.
You had specific inside information about them. She was abducted. The moment came, she awoke and gave them this information. I went ahead
and abducted her anyway, took her to whatever procedures they did with her, and apparently it went on up the food chain, because now I'm backtracking because we already have the rest of the information.
I would imagine there would be repercussions for you.
Well, that would have to be my detractors. Something I can think. I've often thought most of those people are aliens anyway.
No.
Just kidding. At least in some sense of the word. Very strange. The situation went on that on December 8th, 1992, my senior investigator and I were talking, Dale, and he looked at his fingernails and he noticed that they had started to grow over the last day or so very rapidly. And he got freaked out, because one of the things I've found with some of these people, not all of them, but some of them, is their hair growth and fingernail growth is remarkable during the abductions, only on some of these people. In his case, it's fingernails. He's having to trim his fingernails 2 and 3 times a day. That's per day.
My.
So he looks at his fingernails and says, oh, my God, something's happened. He said, regress me, let's see what's happened. And he starts describing the most bizarre situation I've ever heard of how 8 of these people, including this lady, of course, now, if this, now you can back up and see the story, she was the one that we used as the bait. And if you weren't going to abduct me, who would you get to get the information from? But my senior investigator, because he would ostensibly know everything that I know.
Did these 8 people know each other?
They did know each other, and one of them was in Florida at the time, and the others were in several different cities around Houston. They were our abductees, and it is my opinion, based on everything we've seen since then, that the idea was to find out where the leak was. That's what we would do if we were in an intelligence community
situation. So, in other words, really, you're almost back in the CIA. I mean, this is intelligence.
I don't see what the
counterintelligence. I don't either. But I would be very concerned that their mental capabilities or dealing with her mental state would be better than your ability to. I can see how you really get in trouble. All right, stay right where you are. Derrel Sims is my guest. Back now to Derrel Sims. Derrel, that's just like the Manchurian Candidate.
Yes, sir. The situation got even better.
Okay.
As we began to find out who was involved, as soon as we found out there were at least 8 people involved, 8 of our people, and there were several other people from other places. We still not found them yet. What we found is that immediately they sectioned 6 of them off for whatever they were going to do with them, and then they took my senior investigator and they questioned him. There are 2 beings that came on board that craft that are apparently quite high up. The other little grays, and I call them cosmic skinheads, the grays and the browns, the doctor types, as you often know about.
Yes.
And you ask about implants, I can tell you about that very well because I have a conscious memory of getting mine when I was 14. And there was, in fact, in most of these cases where these people say, I don't know what happened and it was okay and it was wonderful, whenever I hypnotize these people, if we use this type of technique to get this type of memory, and you put this on video and they look at it, they were absolutely scared out of their mind.
I'm sure that's true.
Because these beings do not use any form of anesthetic, but they tell you that they did.
Well, all right. Your chief investigator, what? Roll over that again, please.
He gets taken by one of the 2 higher up beings that are there, and in his event, he is questioned at great length, and they produce a holographic image in his thinking of a human brain, and they show it to him and ask him where. This being asked him where the human subconscious is.
My God.
Now, why in the world would they ask that if they already knew? And when he said, well, he's very methodical and very scientific, he tries to give him a reasonable answer, and the being gets very upset, to say the very least. A Nordic, which is some people refer to as a human being, type being of this group, walks over and grabs Dale's head and holds it between his fingers, his hands,
yes,
looks very closely, face to face with him, and looks back at the being sitting there and says, he's telling the truth. He doesn't know. And the story just gets more bizarre. An amazing thing happens during this time, and to give a little background on Dale, Linda Moulton Howe interviewed Dale once, and she says, in her opinion, that Dale is one of the clearest-headed people she's ever met in her entire life.
Uh-huh.
He can clearly tell the difference between his emotional state and the events that occur. And this is the kind of qualifications that my senior investigator has in the eyes of someone like Linda Moulton Howe, if that carries any weight with anyone else. So he's very, very clear. He does not make things up or add to anything. He also, if the being asked him right off the bat, he wanted to know why I did what I did.
I bet.
And he wanted to know why we were meeting. Now, that was amazing to me that they had an interest in that. And we found that out in several different ways as well. The lady, on the other hand, is in another room meeting with another being of his ilk, and because there seems to be a very militaristic infrastructure in this stuff, and the grays and browns that some of these people seem to like so well are actually on the lowest end of the food chain. They're not even treated well.
Are they full biological creatures? I'm not even sure about that.
I gave a post-hypnotic suggestion to another one of the 8 people who's there. Later, wanted a post-hypnotic suggestion to protect herself and her 2 children, and so I did give her one under those conditions, and she actually assaulted the being that came in and tore his eye cup off.
Oh, I really think you're messing around with some pretty scary stuff here.
Well, I think they shouldn't have been messing around with somebody 4 years old.
Well, I agree with you.